Right, I'm going to put a disclaimer at the beginning of this one because the last video I did about the endgame, even though I stated I'd only done a couple of expeditions, it felt bland and boring. I've played more. It's okay, minus all the issues. And I'm going to be going through the issues as fast as I possibly can because my god do I have a list full of issues, like issue after issue. Some of them are off the top of my head from like the launch of the game, and most of them, I'm going to say about 80% of them are literally just from today. I played for about 10 or 11 hours, and before anyone goes, oh yeah, but the game's only just come out, why are you rushing to the end game, all this sort of stuff. I play games for a living, so I play through them, I play the end game, blah blah blah, I have a lot of hours on my hands, whatever. And in terms of defending this game, saying it's only just come out, go buy yourself a car, have it turn up without the engine, and then say, oh, don't worry, they'll get it fixed. It's only been released, sent to me a couple of days ago. People are paying £60 for this game. It's an absolute disaster. There's no other way to put it. This is literally, we've been calling it for most of the day, Cyber Dashers, because it's a mixture of Cyberpunk's bugs, dashboarding all the time, and then it's literally got the ERS from the end of Outriders, because this game is nothing but broken. So I'm going to start off this list. There are lots of unnecessary loading screens to jump across a simple bridge or open a bloody door in this game. It actually took them days to sort out the servers to the point of them not breaking at a certain time of the day every day. It happened for like the first 3 days of the game after it was released. And yeah, the game's only just come out, the servers aren't working properly, they'll fix it. It happens to loads of other games. Loads of other games that this happens to didn't have 3 delays and also have an online demo run for a month before the game got released. As I said, Xbox players being sent back to the dashboard all the time. When I say all the time, we played for about 10 or 11 hours today. We had a minimum of 25 dashboards between the group. It doesn't happen to the host. If you play solo, it'll probably happen to you if you're on Xbox. But if you're not the host, it will happen to you quite fucking often. And there's not been any acknowledgement from the developers, the publishers or anything. Oh, there's micro stuttering on PC, we're going to look into that. But as soon as it comes to Xbox, nothing. Being sent to the dashboard is happening far too often. The servers are actually working okay. They've managed to do a good thing with the servers. They're in a good state right now. But the dashboarding is really taking the piss. And it doesn't seem to be too bad in a 2-player group. I don't know if it's too bad solo, I haven't played too much solo, but in a 3-player group this game is fucking dreadful. As well as dashboarding on PC, I've seen players getting error after error. Their games are literally just kicking them back to their desktop, closing everything down. A lot of people have mentioned that matchmaking doesn't ever work on this game, and the devs have stated, in the main menu when you load up the game, crossplay isn't working properly. They're looking into it, and the crossplay come out of beta when they released the full game, so they were happy for it to become a full release of crossplay, so they whacked it in out of beta, and it's fucking broken. Changing character in this game, you have to restart your game entirely if you want to change character, because if you do it in the middle of the game, it will just give you huge lag spikes, FPS drops all over the place by just simply changing your character. The side quest stuff in this game is an absolute mess. It gives you minimal XP, the gear is always a low rarity. The XP system is just horrible. Nothing actually changes the amount of XP you earn through the game. The fastest way to get through this game, there will be other videos, I'm still playing the game, but I have to bring up these issues because they do take the piss. The developers should never have launched the game in this state. I just don't think many game companies go past 3 delays, and this game had already had 3. But you literally go through the story. Once you've done the story, you take on a couple of side missions that awards, I don't know, maybe 1500 XP. I think there's one that gives 3500. The hunts are always 500 XP each. The bounties are 500 XP each. The entire end game in this game, no story reruns don't count, hunts and bounties don't count. The actual end game, the expeditions, is all based on time. If you are not quick, they lower your rewards. The rewards are all over the place. We did I think it was tier 6 or tier 7. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but for the silver time, it was a 0.37% chance of legendary, something like a 42.6% chance, around that sort of percentage, for rares, which are blues, and then it was like a 58% chance or something like that for the epics, which are the purples. I had 1 purple. I had 21 blues from that fucking run, and 1 purple, so the percentages are well off with that as well. When you reach the expeditions, although the story hunts and other stuff is available to farm, everything in the game is completely pointless because There are people literally posting videos of how to farm world tier very fast. Absolutely pointless. Don't bother with the world tier. Because the world tier goes up to 15. When you hit that, you're level 30, that puts all of your enemy levels up to 42, and it puts your loot level up to 42. Expeditions have a different tier system, and they are challenge tiers instead of world tiers. They also go to 15, but eventually you will get a 25% chance of getting legendaries at the end. I've heard people were getting 3 legendaries from one expedition run. The max gear goes up to level 50. By the time you are tier 8 or 9 in expeditions, you are already getting level 42 drops. The enemies are already level 42. So you have 6 or 7 tiers after that of actual progression carrying on all the way up to level 50. So everything else in the game is pointless. The only reason you would really run that sort of stuff is if you just felt like playing that to switch it up from expeditions, or if you wanted to get level 50 gear from the expeditions and then go and absolutely rinse the enemies because they're a much lower level than you. I don't think they can actually pass 42. Your loot from the world tier stuff, the normal game stuff before the expeditions, cannot pass level 42. So everything in the game becomes completely irrelevant once you reach the expeditions and get to like tier 7 or 8, or 8 or 9, sorry. Another thing with this game, the progress doesn't save for other players. If you're not the host, then have fun discovering all the side missions and stuff again in the game because it's going to fucking reset for you. There were a couple of cool bosses in this game, but nowhere near enough for the game to stand out with the boss fights. It's just, there's literally like 2 or 3 big boss fights, and then there's like 3 archetypes for their enemies in the whole fucking game. The end game seems to be best suited for DPS or firepower builds, and that is it. You're not really going to get away with anomaly power. I had someone say, I'm not watching this video and listening to you because you're level 30 with like 2700 health as a tank. You ain't got a fucking clue what you're doing. That's why my survivability, like 6500 health and a shitload of damage as a Devastator class, is doing really well in expeditions. Because apparently I don't know how to play these sorts of games. Everything in this game, expedition-wise, is pretty much DPS. If you're not dealing damage, you're not going to do much. That's how it works in general games, but I mean, there is no point running anything other than DPS. Anomaly power, okay, you might get a bit more damage with your skills, but health, there's absolutely no point proccing into it. Unless you're a class other than the Devastator just naturally has a bit more health, and if you're smart about it, if you've got your skills and your mod set up properly, you don't need to focus health at all. Another thing that's absolutely fucked for this game, solo players get no revive at all. If you go down, it's an instant wipe, yet when you're in a group, if you're in a group of 3 players, you all get a self-revive, and you can go around and revive each other, so solo players out the fucking window. Loot is much better as well in a group, and the game is so much easier in a group, yet the developers will sit there and tell you for their quote-unquote AA game that's not actually AA, it's AAA because there is a £60 price tag on it. They will tell you everything in the game will be soloable. You can do it all solo, but it's much better to do it in a group. So this game wasn't ever really built for solo players. That's probably part of the reason why it's an always online game. You can't play this game without an internet connection. Solo play just pretty much doesn't exist in this game. We were trying to do the Wendigo hunt, and it took us to the wrong area through the navigation. And then the fast travel broke because we all went to fast travel. I had to stay at the camp. Pete and Lewis went to the place where we were all supposed to fast travel to. And then they couldn't fast travel back to me. And we couldn't initiate anything. The map in this game absolutely sucks. It's 2D, doesn't move around, there's no cursor for your character, doesn't show you where you are at all, so it's just simply an image of the area that you're in, not really a map at all. The navigation in this game, as I mentioned with the Wendigo hunt, absolutely sucks. You can't ever properly tell where you're going in this fucking game. Earthquake, the skill in the demo, kept kind of getting stuck in the animation for a couple of seconds, which can be the difference of life and death. Didn't really happen to me throughout the story, but you get to the end game and boom, that bug is back. After resetting the hunts and the bounties, you can't just start them again. You have to actually go back to the wanted posters, back over to the meat stacks you see on the floor for the hunts. You have to initiate them all over again. And I get that hunts are creature-based, but it's always the same creatures. You would have thought there were more than 3 creature archetypes in the game. There's literally no enemy variation at all. It's always the same enemies you're taking down no matter what content you're playing. When you are doing hunts and most other things in the game, the ammo restock boxes are in the most inconvenient places. You would think that the developers have never in their life before played a looter shooter, because most of the time they are inside the enemies rather than where you spawn, or a safer area than a crawler's arsehole. Respeccing the skill tree in this game. Even though it's completely free, it's a nice feature to have it completely free, but you're not able to remove one skill at a time. It needs to be a thing, really, because if you want to change one thing on your skill tree and you've applied the skills previously, then you have to reset the entire tree and go through it all over again. Some areas just require all players to be within the vicinity. You get like a little circle on the ground. Others force a vote to begin the quest. It's a pointless thing. Another thing, doing the split tooth hunt spawned Pete outside the combat area when we both did it, and because we defeated the boss using the accidental cheese, he can no longer begin that fight in his own game, making the hunts completely unplayable for him, meaning that he can't receive rewards if he wanted to farm them, and he can't reset them or anything, so the hunts for Pete are completely broken. We did face a progression blocker partway through the story that forced us into solo to make progress with the game. There's an issue with the HUD that goes missing for some players quite often. Sometimes your guns will stop firing, you can't do anything with your character until there's a cutscene. If there's a fast travel initiated or if you go down, obviously solo players, if that happens, you're going to have to fully wipe, because remember, solo players getting much tougher in this game. During expeditions, when there is a cutscene, the timer continues. Remember, these expeditions are fully time based. We've had doors that take like 6 or 7 seconds to open. We've had not even the main boss of this game take 15 seconds to get a fucking cutscene. And it all adds on to this timer. You're trying to rush for the gold rewards because they're the best rewards, and sometimes you can't get them because of the cutscenes. Me and Pete literally finished, I think it's Mountain Outpost or something. We finished that 8 seconds below the time for gold. If the stupid cutscenes and stuff weren't there, we would have got gold that run. Some people can't even make it past the first city because the game constantly kicks them off the servers, and the servers seem to be better now in the UK, so I'm guessing the server issues are maybe regional or even a case-to-case basis. After every single expedition, someone in the group goes invisible. Even if we wipe and retry, someone goes invisible. They get stuck on a loading screen, forcing yet another dashboard. Ammo is ridiculous in this game. You can literally auto-loot everything. You set your loot rarity to the base. You can auto-loot everything in the game besides ammo. That needs an auto-loot feature because the reserves are tiny, so they could give us bigger reserves in general, or at least they could put an arrow on the minimap to show you where the ammo boxes are in terms of a level up or a level down from where you are, because you might see an ammo icon on the map. If you're doing expeditions for the first time, ammo is incredibly important, and you just don't know where the box is, and you're based on time. Literally everything in the expeditions is time, and there are so many things that hold players back. We loaded into an expedition. I'll put the footage on screen to prove it to you as well. My second primary weapon disappeared completely. You can't unequip these weapons. As soon as you pick one up, it's forced into that second primary slot. So, side note for people can fly, can I have my fucking gun back, please? The Stargrave expedition and a couple of others didn't actually have a chest for when you wipe, and we call it the pity chest, where you get loot for wiping. It's quite a nice feature. The RNG is not the greatest, but you're not expecting amazing rewards when you're failing at doing the expedition. But I think we ended up going into 2 expeditions on tier 7, and we didn't get a chest for wiping. One of them was a 16.5 minute fight. We wiped on the boss, didn't get any pity loot for it at all. And that is an actual feature. It will tell you if you complete it and you get the win, you'll be able to claim loot from the drop pod. If you don't and you fail, you'll get a loot chest in the preparation room. Load up your expeditions, press left on your D-pad if you're using a controller. You'll see all that info. It's the middle tooltip there. It tells you in this game that you get that loot chest. And we did 2 runs, one of them 16.5 minutes. No loot for doing that run at all. And then I went back in and I did a solo run on tier 7 just to make sure that it wasn't us being idiots. And I died during a fight and I loaded back in, and guess what? The chest was there for me. It was just when we were in a group we didn't get that chest. But by far the most annoying thing, I've got some videos coming up. They're going to have some decent titles to them. Some of you are probably not going to agree with what we have to say or whatever. But a lot of the stuff, a lot of the commentary will be like the humorous sort of take the piss sarcasm tone. Because we were getting so fed up with it. We had over 25 dashboards between the group, and that halts your progress so much. We're trying to get up to challenge tier 15 so that we can start getting our builds together. Builds are going to take a little while. You need to get, I want to try some of the legendary gear sets. There's weapons and stuff that we can try, because some of them do seem to make you very powerful. Without legendaries, I think Pete has one legendary he's using, being the Wicker SMG, and he's absolutely melting these enemies. So we eventually want to get to challenge tier 15, do the hardest stuff in the game and have a laugh with it and be powerful. So we need to get our builds together. And between my 24-hour charity stream and the time I've played after, we've had well over 50 plus, if not getting close to triple figures now, server issues and dashboards between the group. It takes the piss. People can fly. Square Enix, they need to fix this stuff. Yes, we play the game through Game Pass, might not have had to directly pay for it, but we still pay for our subscription to play this game. And there are people out there that have spent £60 on this game. Some people might have got it a little bit cheaper or whatever, but its standard price is £60. And this is the fucking product we're receiving. There's a reason we call it Cyber Dashers, and that's because we're constantly dashboarding it. And I'm going to say straight away, as long as nothing else comes into competition with this game, this is the Cyberpunk of 2021. It's that badly broken, it's a fucking mess. It's unacceptable to release a game like this after 3 delays and a month of an online demo. The fact that they can actually sit there and still make jokes. They put out a tweet, "Happy Easter Sunday everyone, we're watching," or something like that. "No, we're watching the servers, not you." That'd be creepy as fuck. They're still sitting there making like little jokes and stuff here and there when their game is such a mess. That actually takes the piss. I'm leaving the video there. It's 18.5 minutes of me recording, just sitting here ranting. As I said at the start, you don't like it, don't watch. Simple, click off the video. But at the end of the day, someone needs to point these problems out, because if you don't point them out, they're never going to get fixed. And saying that the game's only just come out, no fucking excuse at all. But that's it for the video. I'll see you in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed it.